How's it going, y'all? Aiden Anderson here. It is indeed election season again, and that means it's time for another round of Candidate Candids. In this series, we talk to candidates running in the local elections to learn more about them, their platform, and what they hope to do in office if elected. We're focusing on the county races this year, and first up, we've got County Commissioner candidate Tony Johnson. Let's get into it. Tony, how you doing?
I am doing well, thank you so much.
Now, I know we were just talking about this off camera, but would you mind explaining a little bit about where we are right now?
Well, we are about a mile south of Moscow on US 95. My dad purchased this land from the Paul family back in the late 60s, early 70s. At that time, he had a trucking and excavation business, and this is the shop that he had built. And from there, it's history. A lot of history.
So you've mentioned on your website before that your family has been in Latah County for a while.
Yes, sir.
And you are, I'm not going to remember this. Are you third generation or fourth generation?
I'm fourth generation. My great grandfather, when he was 12, stowed away on a boat from Norway, came over to America, and for I'm not sure how many years. I'm just running off of what I hear from my cousin Bobby. He became a cabin boy for quite a few years. In fact, on the other side of the shop over there is a boat that he built as a replica of the boat that he came on. They settled in North Dakota. I think it was Pollock, North Dakota, for a while after he grew up. Eventually, they ended up in the Troy area. And so from Troy, out on Little Bear Ridge, is where my grandfather had a farm. And it's where my dad was born, and his brothers and sisters. Also, my mom was from Little Bear Ridge, a little further down the road. So Troy native. When I was about 3, we moved from, funny, where John Bowman lives, the other county commissioner. There was an old house there many years ago, and that's where I was born, in that area.
Oh, man.
And the old house got burned down or tore down or something, and, 20, 30 years later, John built his house. But we are very, very close to where John built his house. So anyway, another funny story. John Bowman grew up in my grandfather's house, and they used to call it the Johnson place. So us Troy boys are we just know each other from way back when. So anyway, from there I moved to Moscow. When I was 3, went to St. Mary's School in kindergarten, then went to Moscow Public Schools for 12 years, then to college for a couple years, and then decided college really wasn't for me and jumped in a dump truck, and 50 years later, I'm talking to you.
So one thing you've mentioned, again on your website, as part of that 50 years between now and then, is you have something that none of the other candidates, as far as I can tell, have, which is experience on the Moscow City Council.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Tell us about that. I wasn't in Moscow at this point. I'm sure it was a little bit of a different landscape. What was that like?
Yes, it was a pretty amazing experience. I ran back in 93, 94, and it was a really full field of candidates. I'm going to tell a little story, and it's kind of funny. And we had the forms and whatnot, and every candidate that got up told us all about their educational background. Great. Well, mine's high school, a couple years of college. And so I didn't have any fancy letters to put behind my name. So as I'm explaining who I am, I go, well, and in 1974, I earned a CDL from the state of Idaho and kept rolling. Well, there's another council member. I hear him kind of go in the background. Well, a CDL is a commercial driver's license. It takes you about 20 minutes to get it. The other people just didn't have a clue. And the fun thing is, I beat them all.
Man.
You can have all the education you want, you can have all the book learning you want, but there's nothing better than just a little bit of experience and a little bit of heritage in the community. So anyway, on City Council, a fantastic group of people to work for and work with. Very diverse, all different backgrounds were involved, and I think we got a lot of things done. We got the Hamilton Low Aquatic Center built. We did the Alturas Business Park. We updated the wastewater treatment plant. Mountain View Road got improved. On my way out, when I had to leave in 2000 because I moved to Viola, they were working on the 1912 building. So we did a lot of things, but I think the thing that I enjoyed the most was we made an agreement between the council members that we are not going to fight our battles in the press. If we had an issue with the council member, we didn't leave that council chamber until we got it fixed. That's a big deal because you're working for the community. You're not sitting there trying to butt heads and whatnot. And I think if you go into a situation like that, it was a really good philosophy, I think. And you know, at the time, I was on the council with Linda Paul, and Linda leaned left, I leaned right. I remember one day coming up in the elevator, riding up with her. I go, Linda, if you and I were married, we'd have a great marriage because we just get along. So anyway, it's just, you know, it's just the way it works. So you need to build a relationship. That's important.
Yeah, it's something I've heard echoed throughout my conversations with candidates this election season is the importance of relationships when it comes to the local world. And I mean, you've been around for so long, but you've cultivated a fair bit.
Do I take that as a compliment?
I mean,
to
be fair, you have places that are colloquially named after you. That's not something I can say.
Well, yeah, kind of.
Not yet, anyway.
Yeah. So anyway, a lot of family heritage here. So, and that's something I'm very proud of. So it's one reason I'm running, just to bring, I'll say it again, the local heritage and the continuity of what Latah County is all about, just to continue that and not let us just get sprawled out and be disappointed in 20, 30 years of what's happened here.
And seeing as you were a counselor a good few years back, what would you say would be the biggest differences between the council as you saw it when you were participating in it and the council that exists now?
I don't follow city government as much. I would say the council was, back in the 90s, was probably, okay, I'm going to put it on a political standpoint, but it wasn't supposed to be, but I would say there was 2 liberals, 2 moderates, and 2 conservatives. You can't hit any better than that. And we all had good, solid points of view, and it was a very rare occasion that if we tied up 3-3 that the mayor had to break the vote. But for the most part, it was 6-0 all the time. There's a couple times I was out there by myself on a few issues, but you know, it's who I was or am. So.
And of course, you're not running for city this year, you're running for county commissioner, which for a lot of people is a very, well, not a very well-known office position, what have you. What has been sort of, as you've explored the position, because clearly you're exploring it because you're running for it, what have you found to be helpful in explaining the position to people?
Well, mostly experience in budgeting. There's a lot of times we had to go in, had to do some quasi-judicial things, so we couldn't really talk with people outside of the council. Sometimes you have to go into executive session. And so some things are done behind closed doors, but it's because of legalities. I would say a lot of things is just the desire to improve. One was the city, and 2 now would be the county.
Yeah.
I hope that is helpful.
Yeah. So in the same way that the council has this variety of roles that it finds itself in, yet there is a strong driving desire behind that to improve, as you were saying. It's a similar situation, but a different governing body.
It is, and when you look at all the requirements that it takes to be a county commissioner, I mean, there's 23 different job descriptions that you may encounter. I don't have them all memorized or even know them all. I've looked at them and go, wow, I didn't know that, I didn't know that, I didn't know that. But we'll figure it out. You know, it's going to be a learning experience. I think I'll be able to pick it up quicker than some of the other people, but I've still got a learning curve.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the case with, I mean, whenever there's a turnover, whether it's at the city or the county level, there's always a bringing up to speed that needs to happen. And it seems like our councils, our commissioners are pretty good at doing that for newcomers.
I have a lot of confidence in the guys that are up there. If I need help, I'm sure they will help me. I don't think there will be an issue.
I guess that brings us to sort of the larger assessment of the county itself, because a lot of people don't think about the county until, you've got an election year. And of course, with this being a presidential year for the elections, a lot of people are just paying closer attention anyway. And some of them are looking at county government for the first time thinking,
sure,
oh, wow, what needs to change? What are people running on? What are things that we can prioritize? So I guess to phrase a question this way, what would be your assessment of the county as it is now? And what sorts of things would you be interested in looking either deeper into, to improve, to adjust, to promote?
What I see the county running very smoothly right now. There has been times that every night you'd pick up the newspaper and somebody's bad-mouthing somebody else at the county. That's not going to happen if I'm in there. Like I said earlier, if I have an issue with maybe another commissioner or maybe another elected officials, we'll get that solved. It's not going to go to the press. I want the county to continue to run on an even keel. If I were to change anything over the past, 15, 20 years, budgeting has been a big deal, and the commission has always taken a 3% increase because that's what they are allotted to do every year, on a maximum of 3%. That's what we were allotted at the city council. And with the fair just getting over, I heard a lot of complaining about my tax assessment. And mine is okay. Mine went down because of what the legislature did for us the last couple of years, so mine has dropped. But I am going to try to work with the other commissioners and with the other elected officials to let's just shoot for maybe a 1.5%, maybe for 2% growth next year. We're all working for the people of Latah County. Let's see if we just can't cut a little. It's difficult. Everybody says, well, I'm going to try to save you tax dollars. Well, I have yet to see any kind of government save people tax dollars. It's always give me more, give me more, give me more. And there's got to be a break-even point. And then the other thing that I see, they complain about their tax assessment. But you got to remember, when you get your tax assessment, the county is only half. There's another little line down there that says school district. And that's a pretty good chunk of change too. That's about half of what I'm paying for. And I'm probably gonna get burned for this, but I mentioned it yesterday at the chamber meeting. I would like to see a cutoff date when I don't have to pay for school districts anymore. Be that age 65, 68, 70, somewhere in there. When am I done paying for my kids and your kids to go to school? Right now, I got to pay for it my whole life. My mom's 91. She lives up on the hill up here. She's been paying that same bill for over 70 years. When does she get to be done paying for all you guys as kids? Now, the tax burden is going to shift then, if that happens, from the seniors to the people that are still working. And this is something the county can't do. This is a state problem. And I've mentioned it to a couple of our representatives. Go, bring it up. At least get the conversation started. That give us a cutoff date, because I just retired this year and I'm 68, and I am now on a fixed income, and I don't like it. When you're in business, for me, when I was in business for myself, if I wanted something, I went and got it. I had a very nice business. Wasn't that lucrative, but I had no needs or wants. Well, now I'm on a fixed income, and I look at my property tax statement, and it's one whole month's Social Security payment. So now I'm living on 11 months worth of Social Security and a few other things, but really? Just leave me alone. So, I earned that. Just let me have it. So anyway, you know, and I don't mean to offend anybody in the school district or anything like that. It's just, give us a break. And I'm kind of talking for all the seniors in Latah County too, and there's a bunch of us. So we'll see what happens.
One thing that comes up in those conversations, whether it's school board, whether it's the sewer and water districts, whether it's the county, is just sort of the lack of information that there is to the public about how these different districts, governing bodies, what have you, are connected to each other. And a lot of people wouldn't even know that they have a water and sewer district or a school district that they're paying money directly to unless it comes up in immediate conversation.
Sure.
So is there some way in which we just need to see more transparency from the governments about that? Or is that something that you would encourage people to do their own research on?
I agree with the latter part of your statement. All that stuff is out there. You just have to have the want and the desire to go look it up. It's there for you to look at. Most people don't want to be bothered with it. So I can't make you read it. I'm not going to knock on your door and explain it to you because it's really boring. So they have to have a want and a desire. And if they can't find the information, there's a thing called a telephone. Pick it up and call us. Nobody is trying to hide anything, as far as I know, from anybody. So I think the information is out there. Oh, I'm sure it is. It's just you just have to want to look it up. And I think anymore with the way the internet and stuff works, I'm sure if you knew where to type it in at, you could probably find it. I think it's out there. You just got to want to read it. And it's not fun.
I believe you.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you get a real thrill out of reading spreadsheets and budget documents.
Some people do.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah, some people do.
As somebody who went through this past year's county budget, it's a lot at first.
It is. It is. And the thing about the county budget is I looked at it and I went down line item by line item, and every line item somebody has asked for or we are obligated to pay. We're obligated to pay our employees. That's a given there, or the state has mandated something, or some group has asked for assistance. So if you want me to cut something, you let me know. I'm not going to go in there with a hatchet. What I would rather do is go in there and ask for less right off the top. To me, that would be an easier way to do it.
And that's sort of dependent on the parties involved, right? Because I would be very surprised to hear of an employee wanting to get paid less for something.
Oh yeah, and here's I will pat the commissioners over the last 5-6 years on the back for they've probably taken some heat over this, but they have brought salaries in the courthouse up to comparable wages. Used to be you didn't want to work up Latah County because they were paying the least. Now they're right up there with everybody else. And I'm finding and hearing through the different elected officials that we're doing pretty good. And so if we can maintain that, doesn't mean we have to start giving out the 5% raises. We'll take a look at the cost of living and what inflation is doing to us. The upside is it's starting to roll back, but for the last 3.5 years, we've had a really rough go. When I was in business, I raised my prices twice because fuel went through the roof. When it used to cost me $70 an hour to take my stuff to the repair shops to get it fixed, now it's over $120 an hour. And I'm thinking, okay, this is nuts. So, yeah, it was not fun. Let's just put it that way.
I imagine so. A lot of times when people show up to the county with particular, whether it's a grievance to air or an appeal to hear, a lot of times you'll hear from county officials that it's something to do with what the state has legislated. So they are operating on a principle or a mandate given to them by the state, and they can't really do too much about it on the front end of what's going on in the county. It's something that the state is doing, and therefore, if people have an issue with it, they need to take it up with the state and not with them.
Right.
I guess to ask a broader question, what do you think of the current relationship between Latah County and the state of Idaho, and how do you plan on sort of either perpetuating elements of that relationship, interacting with it further? Do you think it's good, bad? Let's just unpack that a little bit.
I think our group of legislators are doing a pretty good job. I spent a lot of time with Brandon Mitchell this weekend at the fair, going over a lot of things, legislation that he's introduced to ease burdens and restrictions on the people. I do know that, I'm just going to throw out a number, I think it was around 140 million that the legislatures put into the K-12 budget to help improve salaries for the teachers. What I'm finding out is a lot of that money went to administrators, which was what it was not intended for. So I don't mean to be disparaging any school board, but when extra money comes your way, put it where it was designed. Maybe they are, I'm talking off the cuff. So, you know, I've got to be very careful here because there's a lot of school teachers out there that don't like me or won't like me. But anyway, and that's where the transparency comes in. So I would ask citizens, don't just look at the county, just don't look at the city council, also look at your school district. It's a big part of things. So, God, I'm picking on the school districts, and I don't mean to. I really don't. So, next fun question.
For sure, for sure. Well, switching gears then.
Thank you.
Let's talk about some of the campaigning elements, because obviously you've campaigned before, because you're running for city council. You're campaigning again. What are some of the more unique experiences you've received on the campaign trail so far?
Well, I ran for commissioner 6 years ago. And the only reason, or one of the big reasons I'm going again, is because the Latah County Republicans have really stepped up their game, And they've registered thousands of new voters for the Republican Party. And I'm getting financial help that I didn't get before. And instead of me doing it by myself, which I did 6 years ago, I've got a group of 5, 6 people that are, Tony, do this. Tony, I got you doing this. Go there, do this. Watch what you say here. You know, and they're doing an awesome job. And I'll keep the names to myself until after the election. I don't want anybody to get run over because they're helping me, because that can happen.
Fair enough.
Okay.
But yeah, I imagine a pretty significant difference running with a party versus running by yourself.
Yeah. You know, well, and here's the thing too, the two independent sheriffs, they understand what I'm talking about because they're out there by themselves. And, you know, and I'm trying to stay out of the sheriff race. I am not endorsing any one of 3 of the sheriffs. I know 2 of them really well. I don't know Mr. Middleton all that well, but I do know he's got law enforcement backgrounds. I have talked to him about some issues that I really want to see fixed. And they're all in agreement on the direction I want to go. So that's nice. So anyway, it's very nice. I get really complimented on my sign placement. They go, well, how do you get all those people to let you put your signs up and down the highway? And I go, I know them. It helps being here for 68 years. You get to know people and they want to support you. So yeah, you can't help but see my name coming up South 95 now.
No, absolutely.
Did you see it?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right there at Dill's Boat.
I mean, you've got that construction going on right now, right in that area, so you can't help but slow down and see every single political.
You have to look at my sign, and I get more people saying, "How did you do that?" Well, Rick, Flomer, who owns Dill's Boat, we went to high school together. You know.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. So yeah, it was great. Anyway.
Yeah. You've mentioned a little bit within the context of this year's campaign as being one in which you've entered the modern world.
Oh, geez, don't go there.
No, but in all seriousness, like, social media can make or break campaigns at the national level, but at the local level, it's a little bit more of a gray area because it's like, are the people you're even, looking to as your constituents paying attention to your social media side of things?
I got this a year and a half ago.
Oh yeah?
I haven't broke it, but it's almost got airborne.
Oh man.
I'm not a computer person. I know where the on and off switch is, and that's about it. In my particular line of work, my hands were busy running equipment, driving truck, doing that kind of thing. I didn't have time to be on a computer. So no, I am not a computer whiz, and I am not on social media. It just reminds me of a party line back in the 50s where you pick up the phone and you have to wait for somebody to get off the phone so you can get on the phone. And it's... people hide behind social media because they don't give their real names. So you don't know who they are. To me, that's cowardice.
Yeah.
Put your name out there. Have some kahunas and sign your name to whatever grievance you have or whatever compliment you have.
It's funny because I think a lot of people that I know would share your sentiment in a lot of different ways about just being irritated and fed up with a lot of what social media has to offer, but they're still on social media. They
are. And you know, it's a big deal to the younger generation. I mean, you see every kid walking around town going, and then they run into the flagpole. Oh, I didn't see that. And I'm thinking, it's fun. You go to a restaurant and you see 4 kids sitting at a table and they're all doing this. I go, put your damn phone down and talk to each other. Come on. So it's who I am. I'm old school.
Yeah. I suppose it's not something you can totally campaign on, but...
No, there is nothing better than going face to face, because you can read a text and you're not quite sure the tone. And you can read it a couple different ways, so you don't know whether to get angry or whether to be happy. So if somebody wants to talk to me, if I get elected, I will give you a phone number to get a hold of me. One will be at the courthouse and the other one will be in this building. But until then, I have the right to, I still have a private life too.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not giving you my cell phone, I'm not giving you my home phone.
Well, there you go. Another thing that comes up a lot in the campaign conversation, and of course you're hearing it all the more because it's a presidential year, and for some reason, like, everybody pays attention, but all in the same way when it comes to big election years like this, and that is, you know, they look at the ballot, they look at the party letter, they look at whether you're red or blue, conservative, liberal, all those sorts of things, and that's sort of the way, the lens by which a lot of people view politics. And yet, at the same time, when you work at the local level, like you have at the city, you're dealing with people across party lines all the time, because that's just the nature of politics. Obviously, there's going to be folks who view that as inherently like, okay, you're in the midst of conflict all the time. A, I would ask, has that been your experience having worked with people across party lines before? And B, when there are conflicts, what have you found to be helpful when it comes to conflict resolution such that you guys can make a decision in politics that you've been involved in before?
Well, I touched on this earlier when we talked about city council, and when I said we built relationships. That's a big deal. The fight I see now, I'll put it on a national level, the fight is over personality and not policies. That's a big deal. If all you're going to do is badmouth both, I'm going to go to the presidential race, both of the candidates on their personalities, you have completely missed what's going on in this country. Look at policies. What does this candidate stand for, and what does this candidate stand for? To me, that's the bigger issue. And you go on social media and all it is I hate this guy for what he did, or I don't like her for what she did. That's totally wrong. Look at the policies, and that means you're going to have to do some homework. And I would highly suggest you shut off the 6 o'clock news, because it's kind of one-sided. Go online to a non-biased site if you could ever find one. Good luck with that. And just, the Democrats, I don't know if they have a platform or not. I know the Republicans have a platform. I'm not sure about the Democrats, but just look at their policies. And if the candidates can't state their policies, be careful.
Because then you're dealing with a situation where it is, like you said, personality driven more so than it is like, we want this guy because we like his face or the things that he says, not necessarily his actions or the things that...
Yeah, I get tired of the Republicans, candidates' mouth. But I do realize if you've ever been to New York, it's just the way it is. Mm-hmm. It's just their demeanor. Just ask presidential, please.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll support the man. He did great things when he was president before. I'm treading water here.
All good, all good. Because once again, you're describing, obviously people are going to be characters because that's what drives people to interact with them, which is what campaigning is about. Yes. Largely, it's making sure that they know the personalities involved. But you don't, from what you're saying, it sounds like you don't want a personality without policies to either back that personality up or to make them compelling for...
Exactly. So
yeah, that makes sense. Well, I think we're pretty much to the end of the questions I have, but I want to give you the opportunity to tell people, anything further that you want to say about this campaign, about you running for office, and then also, where can people reach you if they want to find out more, if they want to support you? Where do they go?
Well, I'm on Facebook. I had to get on Facebook. That's interesting. And I have a website. I think it's vote for, I'm not sure what it is because I'm showing you how illiterate I am in computer stuff. I think it's votetjohnson.com. I'm not sure. I think. And then the Republican committee itself has a web page, which I have to update, but I'm not. Both Deb and I cannot figure out how we're to get on there and update our web page. I would encourage you to go to the campaign forums. They're quite entertaining.
Do you know when the next one's coming up?
Wednesday, 1912, 7 o'clock.
All right, and who's the host for that?
Legal Republican women.
Okay.
You know, come early. You know, chit chat with us and find out who we are. I think all the candidates are going to be. I think it's just county candidates. You know, this is what we had the candidate forum at Best Western the other day, and all four of us were up there. And the demeanor with all four candidates was very cool, calm, nothing nasty. I enjoy being with those three guys, two Democrats and Jason and myself, and we all made good points. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a tough selection, you know. And granted, it's all going to boil down to party affiliation. It's who can get the most votes out. There may be a few independents out there that haven't made up their mind, but come to the forums. There's a lot of information we could give if the right questions are asked. So,
Tony, thank you so much.
Hey, thank you. It was fun.
And that was our conversation with Tony Johnson. As with all candidates, I highly encourage you to check them out yourself so that you can go into the election well prepared and educated. We'll have the relevant links posted with this video, and as always, if you have any questions, please reach out. I'm Aiden Anderson, and this has been Candidate Candids. We'll see you next time.